I used to train 6 days a week, 3 hours a day, and I remember I would just feel so fatigued and tired and feel anxious and feel sore all the time. But I always had to tell myself, no, you have to be motivated, you have to go, you have to be disciplined, you have to go. And you know what happened? I kept being consistent. I used to train so freaking much. I barely grew any muscle. Like, yeah, I had a little bit of muscle, of course, but there were body parts, like especially my arms, were so small. Like, I had very weak body parts, and literally I never grew, or I barely ever grew. And now I train 2 to 3 times a week, full body, maximum 1 hour per workout, and I've literally never seen as much growth as I see now. And I've actually been training for 3 years, and I've never built so much muscle in my entire life in this period. Now, me and you, we've been fed a huge, massive lie. And the problem is 99% of people are not aware of this. And this is why probably most of your friends, most of the people who train never ever make any progress. Because we've been fed this huge lie that, like, I'm gonna give you some terms here, and you're gonna tell yourself, oh yes, I've heard that before, and that's the optimal, that's what I'm supposed to do to build like tons of muscle. You probably heard these things, right? Train 6 days a week, um, 50 sets per muscle, and what else do these guys say? Train 3 hours a day. Now, I've actually researched this topic a lot. I've probably researched this topic more than any other thing. I've read books, I've watched videos, and paid money to literally learn about this topic of building muscle. And this is literally gold. What I'm about to say is literally gold. Now, you've probably heard this before, like 6 days a week, 50 sets per week, train 3 days a week, all that, right? And one sec. The people who have said all this are steroid users, and the science-based, YouTubers. And I'm gonna explain to you why this doesn't work. Right? You've probably heard this a lot, only from these guys, from steroid users and science-based YouTubers, and you probably watch these guys because you want to know like the science and all that, right? I'm gonna explain to you why this is false, and literally 90% of people are training completely wrong, and I'm gonna tell you the correct way to maximize muscle growth in just 2 to 3 workouts per week. Now, first, let's start with steroid users. Now, I'm not gonna drop anyone's name because I'm not I don't want to get into any beef. I'm just gonna tell you straight up. You probably listen to like the bodybuilders and all that, the famous bodybuilders talk about you need to train 6 days a week, 3 hours a day, 20, 30 sets per day. Probably you've heard that from tons of bodybuilders, right? But the thing is, me and you, we're natural, and these guys are enhanced. So they say what's working for them, but what's working for them is never gonna work for you. You don't know how powerful steroids are, bro. Like, steroids literally, they make you recover from anything. You can literally get hit by a car and recover. Like, they make you, they increase your recovery like so hard, man. And they, of course, boost your muscle growth. Like, you could literally not train at all. You could get two guys. Like, I'm gonna give you a good example. You could get two guys, right? One who trains and one who just takes steroids, doesn't even train. And this guy will build more muscle just because he takes steroids. So steroids are so powerful, and you should never ever listen to any bodybuilder who takes steroids. So you probably know this. You shouldn't listen to steroid users because they take steroids and you're natural. So what works for them will not work for you. All right. So that's the first group of people. Now the second group is science-based guys. Now, I love science-based training, and I agree with probably most of the things that they say. Like 95% of the things that science-based training says, I completely agree with it, and most of the training I do is science-based. The problem is this idea that you should leave reps in reserve, that you should not train to failure to do more volume. Well, that doesn't make sense, and I'm gonna contradict science with science, basically, because I'm gonna go into some sciencey shit right now. I'm gonna be honest. I know this video took a weird turn. I was supposed to tell you the way, but I'm gonna tell you right now. I just want to explain to you why this high volume, it does not work. And I know you like the science and all that, so I'm gonna explain it to you, and I'm gonna explain it to you in like a simple way, bro. So there's this principle. It's called the Henneman. I need a new marker. Size principle. This was made in the 1950s, right? So this principle, it basically states that, I'm just gonna draw this here. I know this is such a shit drawing. The more effort the muscle produces, the more motor unit recruitment it gets. So basically, the more effort, the closer you train to failure, or the more effort a muscle produces, the more the muscle is recruited, basically. So for simple terms, like 80, 50. So let's say you're doing a set, right? If you do a set and you stop 10 reps shy of failure, so basically the closer you get to failure, the more and the bigger motor units are recruited. We've known this for years, for probably like 70 years now. So the closer and the more you train to failure, the more motor units and the bigger motor units you recruit. So basically, if you train all the way to failure right here, you recruit all of these motor units and all the big ones and the small ones and all of the motor units. And that is why when studies make participants train to failure and participants not train to failure, the ones who train to failure grow more muscle. But of course, when you stop right here at like 80%, and like this reps in reserve, and you should stop 1 or 2 reps shy of failure, of course, more sets are better. Of course, training 6 days a week is better because you left so much on the table. So I really want you to understand this, bro. Science-based guys say that more volume is better because they don't train to failure. And we've known this. Like, if you actually look at the studies and you actually read the studies, because I've delved into this realm. Like, I've been training for 3 years, bro. I've done a lot of shit. But when they compare studies that train to failure and the ones who have reps in reserve, they compare 1 set versus multiple sets versus 3 sets. And here they compare 1 set versus 3 sets. Here there is more growth. Of course, that makes so much sense. Because like I just drawn, they stopped short. They didn't recruit all of the muscle. The muscle still has more to give. But actually, when they compare 1 set versus 3 sets in intermediate and advanced guys who go to the gym, they found no difference. This makes so much sense now, right? So I'm not contradicting science-based training at all. I'm just explaining to you. You have 2 ways to train, basically. You can either train to failure with 1 set and get all of you could maximize muscle growth in that, or you could train 6 days a week, 3 hours a day with 50 sets per week and not train to failure, which is honestly like useless. And you will get more growth, but you could get all of the growth in just 1 set with just training to failure. And we've seen this, the same thing happens with frequency actually. Like, if you compare training 3 days a week versus 6 days, and here it's 3 days versus 6 days, it shows no difference. No, here it shows there is more growth for the 6 days, and here of course for the 3 sets. But here it also shows no difference. So if you train to failure and you progressively overload, you already maximized muscle growth. You don't need sets, you don't need frequency, you don't need anything. And this is how I train. Now, I know I went on a huge rant, but if you understood this, I promise you like, if you really understood this, you're probably like more intelligent than 90% of people who go to the gym, honestly. So the way basically to train less and gain more muscle, and this is the way I train, is the opposite. Instead of training high volume, low intensity, we train high intensity, low volume. This is how I train. Now, I'm gonna explain it. There's basically like 4 pillars you need. If you do these 4 things, you train in this way and you will maximize muscle growth. You will never hit a sticking point and you will always maximize muscle growth. Now, the first pillar, of course, is training to failure. Pillars of HIIT. You have to train to failure to recruit all of the muscle fibers and motor units to maximize muscle growth. You have to. You need to train to failure, right? To maximize muscle growth and to recruit all of the motor units, the biggest and the most motor units. You have to train to failure to the point where you can't get another rep. It's that simple, right? The second thing is you have to do just 1 or 2 sets per exercise. And I honestly, if you do one, you will maximize muscle growth on that. And I've just shown you that all of the studies that compare 1 set versus 3 sets to failure show no difference. So if you just do 1 set to failure, it's like doing 3 sets to failure, basically. But of course, if you stop short of failure, if you do more, of course it will be better. Like that just makes sense, right? The third thing is progressive overload. And this, of course, we know this, stronger muscle is a bigger muscle. You need these 2 things. You need if you just train to failure and you, every time you go to the gym, you increase the weight or the reps, you will maximize muscle growth. I'm telling you. This is coming from someone who's been training for 3 years now. And the 3rd year, I've built the most muscle because of this. I literally can't preach this enough for you, man. You will save tons of time in the gym, maximize muscle growth, and you will have so much more time to focus on other things. Like if I still trained high volume, I wouldn't be working right now for six hours a day, right? I wouldn't be working on the thing I genuinely love, which is helping people and helping my younger self. But we'll not talk about that right now. The fourth thing is to train 1 to 3 times per week. And I know I know this is so weird for you. Like, man, I'm not gonna build muscle. I'm not training the muscle twice per week. How is this gonna build muscle? I'm training just 1 to 2 sets progressive overload. It's not gonna work. You think that it's not gonna work because of all of the information overload you have. But it will work. And I've actually realized that, like, we now understand that steroid users and science-based guys, you shouldn't take advice from them because steroid users, of course, are on steroids, and science-based guys, they don't train to failure. So of course, volume is better for them. The people you should actually take advice from are people who are natural bodybuilders. Now, why natural bodybuilders? Because natural bodybuilders, first of all, it's their life, it's their entire life is training. Second of all, a natural bodybuilder is natural, of course, so they're just like you and me. And they've been training for probably like 10 plus years. So they've probably tried literally every single thing you're looking on YouTube and the best method and whatever, they've probably tried that. And what I've noticed is every single natural bodybuilder trains with HIIT. Every single one. Like there's like 5 of them that trains with high volume, but most of them, like 95% of them, train with HIIT, train with high intensity training. It's the best. It's the best for naturals. I'm gonna tell you another thing right here. I'm gonna try to make this very simple. But the way to basically train as a natural or build muscle, there's 2 are literally of the same importance, 50-50. Not one of them is even a slight gram more important than the other. And this is what most people get wrong. The first one, of course, is the workout, which is 50%. And the second one is the recovery, which is also 50%. So what we need is to have as much workout, or I'll actually call this the stimulus, and recovery. All right, so we need as much stimulus and as much recovery. And we'll just try this on every single program. Right? So this right here is the stimulus. And this right here is the recovery. Now, let's say high volume training, the 6 days per week, the 3 days, the 3 hours per day, all that type of training. Let's say that's the best. What happens with 6 days per week? I'm gonna be honest, you will have a very, very high stimulus, because you are doing a lot, you're training your muscles so much, and you're training them. Of course, it's not the failure, so it's not like the best stimulus, but you're training them pretty well, so you have a pretty good stimulus. But the thing is, the problem is, and this is what I wish I understood when I was starting out training, is there is literally barely any recovery. Because you're training 6 days per week, so yeah, you're stimulating the muscle and whatever, but there is literally one rest day, just one rest day. And keep in mind, yeah, you're training different muscles, but you only have just one nervous system that controls every muscle, and you're hammering that same system 6 days a week. That is what most guys don't understand. You just have one nervous system. You're not giving the muscle enough recovery. Also, your joints, you're working your joints 6 days per week. So it's not just, like, people have this idea that if you're working out, you're just training your muscles. No, you're working your nervous system, your joints. Everything is working. So you need recovery. Now what happens if you train this way, and this is what happened to me. Like, when I increased my volume and trained like 6 days per week, 3 hours a day and all that, I felt sick, I felt depressed, I felt fatigued, I felt like so tired all the time. I would sleep like freaking 14 hours a day. Like, it was insane. I didn't have recovery at all. So what will happen is you will over train. And this is what happened to me. I had to take literally a full year off of training because of this stupid way of training. Now what happens when you train with HIIT? I'm just gonna erase this. I really hope you're enjoying this, by the way. I really hope you understand this. Like, I really, really, really wish I learned this when I was a little kid. Yeah, I got a new marker here. Just erase this. What happens when you train with high intensity training, which is what I've been preaching this entire video, which is why I built so much muscle. So of course you train to failure and you progressively overload, so you of course maximize the stimulus by training to failure. Just like I explained that When you train to failure, you recruit the maximum muscle fibers, so you maximize muscle growth, which is what I just explained. You could go to that part. And you maximize the recovery by doing just 1 to 2 sets per exercise and training only 1 to 3 times per week. So you have like 4 to 5 days of complete rest. So you maximize recovery, you maximize the stimulus, so you maximize growth. There it is. So basically, all I want you to do, decrease your sets, please bro. Decrease your sets, train way less, and increase the intensity. Decrease the sets, decrease the frequency, increase the intensity, and increase the weight and the reps on each exercise. And as always, bro, we're in this together, and we're gonna make it. Promise you, we're gonna make it. Peace, take care.